My guest today is coming to us all the way from continental Europe. It's Vitor Vincente. Vitor, welcome to the show, and welcome to the wonderful world of social media. So good to see you.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here and to join you in this adventure.
One of the reasons why I was interested in talking to you, because we both are in the world, if you like, of social media. I do videos. I've been doing radio for a long time. I do audio podcasts, etc., etc. You've just branched into this. Can I ask you, what are you calling your, if you like, your platform? Are you calling it a blog? Are you calling it a vlog? Are you calling it a podcast?
I would call it a podcast in the sense that it's all about interviewing people, putting the stuff in platforms like YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And it relies a lot on the audio and on the video side of the house. So, of course, words matter, but it's also about the interactions and how it happens through video. So I think podcast will be the best definition because I think it fits in that context.
Yeah, like myself, you've been obliged to make a choice. Do you do it as audio? Do you do it as video? We look for other platforms to do it. Is yours at the moment? Is it exclusively video?
Yeah. So we started with video. That's the intention, at least for the first 3-6 months, because I'm still experimenting. What's the best format, what works out best for myself and the audience. Now, I don't exclude audio in the future because I know there are people commuting or going for a walk and listening to podcasts as they do those things. But for now, I would rely on the video. I think it's the best setup for the message I want to send across.
So it's not just because you're a dashingly handsome man, like myself,
Thanks.
of course.
Thanks for the comment. But I try to make the best of my looks, probably not of mine, but of the guests.
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned, I do both. I have it on SoundCloud, and I think I've got it on Mixcloud as well. But what I find is that generally speaking, for people out there who don't know us and may just come across us through the topic or whatever, I think they like to see who we are, that we're real, that we're not just, if you like, some sort of chutzpah. Is that your view as well?
100%. And I'm so much agreeing with you that when I do the edits, I try to keep it as authentic as it is. So I don't have the ambition to come across as let's say, an expert in media. I like to share the concept that I'm a man of the people. So by a man of the people, I have my weaknesses, my vulnerabilities, and this is reflected in the camera. And sometimes I hesitate about what I'm saying, where do we go after? But I think that is something that will be of people's interest, because as you just said, they will recognize themselves in us, and I think that's a huge skill.
Sure. Yeah, I have a background in journalism. I've been actually doing this for better or worse for about 30 years. Do you have a background in journalism before your podcast?
Not exactly. I have a large experience in the literature road, which it helps in a sense, especially when it comes to using words and communicate effectively. So that is something that is being used in my podcast. But in terms of interviewing, no, I haven't done none of that. I'm experiencing writing articles and sending a message to people through my words, but not in interviewing others or that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I say to people, I'm a jack of all trades and a master of none. And like most Irish people, I can talk under wet cement. So the subjects that covered and will continue to cover, of course, everything from politics to art to sport to theatre, all of that. What's your, if you like, strategy? Are you sticking to a couple of subjects, or are you looking at everything across the board?
I'd say very similar to yours in the sense that the themes of the podcast will be a reflection of my own interests and passions. So it won't be a niche. It will never turn into an echo chamber, because there's a broad range of things I'm interested in, and that can cover arts, business ownership, sports, current affairs, travel, and so on and so forth. So I think those 5 are already quite diverse, and they can open other avenues.
So like myself, would you be open to what I tend to call infomercials, in the sense that we talk to people about, usually it's in the arts that I do this, but would you be have a mind to do that if somebody came to you and said, look, I've got a theatre production coming up, would you do an interview on it? Would that be the type of interest you would have, or would you be steering away from anything that's commercial?
That will be a great fit, since I'm interested in people who have initiative. They are trying to explore, their own traits and how they put this into practice. So I think if someone is starting a theater company, or they have a play touring around Ireland or other parts of Europe or even the US, I'm very much open to that, since actually theater is one of the things I'm interested in. I never been in a stage as a professional. I did some stuff when I was younger, but I'll be very keen to have people from the theater field.
Can we? People are going to be thinking when they see this Vitor. He doesn't have the same North Side accent that I do. What's your background, Vitor? Where do you originally hail from, and how did you get to beautiful Dublin?
Well, it's a long journey. So I'm Portuguese originally. I'm living abroad for now more than 17 years. Will be 18 in August, and out of the 17 years were spent around 8 in Ireland, and from those 8, a bit more than 6 were in Dublin. So half of my time abroad was spent in Ireland. I think that tells a lot. So I wouldn't be here if I wouldn't be fascinated by the country, by the culture, and by the crack. So I think I'm in the right place, and I don't see myself going anywhere else for the next decade or two.
Well, based on the day that is in it, Vitor, I mean, it's cold, it's wet, it's miserable. And I could have been lying on a beach in Australia today, and I said to the bus driver, I only came back here because of the fabulous climate. So, how do you grew up in a warm climate? How do you respond to this weather?
Well, that's a pretty easy one, because I've been asked that, as you may imagine, 1,000 times, and I'm a kind of peculiar chap when it comes to climate. I don't fancy the heat. I like the sunshine, but I'm okay if there isn't sunshine the whole year, as we have in Portugal. I'd rather have mild weather, but I think it's better for my energy levels, for the effort that I put in my projects. So I'm totally okay. For me, the concept of warm weather is something for, let's say, the downtime. And I'm not much into downtime. I'd rather be active, doing my things. And if I need to lie on the beach, I would do that, let's say, a week or 2 per year. That's just not me. I understand for some people they fancy, because it's not something that they experience on a daily basis. But since an early age, I was never like a beach person. I can tell you one mix. Like I only been to Algarve 3 times, and I know plenty of Irish people who've been to Algarve 20, 30 times, and I've been 3 times, and I've never been to the water in Algarve. Can you imagine, for a Portuguese person? And that tells how much I'm not into seaside and beach in the sense of leisure.
Yeah. it's very easy for people in this part of the world to get, if you like, a distorted picture of Portugal. I mean, when we think of Portugal, we think of Ronaldo, Jose Mourinho, dare I say it, Madeleine McCann. What do Portuguese people think of Ireland? Are they that familiar, or is it a land of mystery and mystique?
Yeah, Ireland is kind of very specific place. Like it doesn't fit into the wide concept of Europe. I think it's mostly seen as a relative of England in the same way that we are seen towards Spanish.
Yeah,
You know? We are kind of like the little brother of a wider family. So when Portuguese people think of Ireland, I think they think mostly of Irish pubs, uh, sports like rugby and Gaelic football, and sports that are very specific to the country, and rain. Yeah, they think about rain. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Interesting you should say that, because generally what we like to tell people, apart from you two and Bono, we actually like to tell people we're a very cultured people. We have James Joyce, we have Samuel Beckett, we have W.B. Yeats, we have a whole range of them. Are Portuguese people familiar with Irish culture in that sense, particularly literary culture and Irish cinema?
Yeah, very much. I mean, for those who are into culture, books, literature, yeah, they would see Dublin, Ireland, as a huge cultural hub. Huge in the sense of how many figures you have, for the size of the country. I think it's fabulous. Like the amount of top-level intellectuals, especially in the writing field, that Ireland produced across the first time for for a tiny population of yours. It's just something unique. So it's recognized in Portugal and in other parts of Europe where I lived. And so it's very well known.
Yeah. Well, I think we can attribute that to a certain degree to the fact that we speak English. And I say to people, we speak English better than the English. We understand and enjoy the language almost better. But leaving that aside, let's go back to your podcast. Do you have an editorial strategy for it? Do you what have you done, if you like, in the first few months of the podcast?
Yeah, so it's now the first month. I started at the end of January, so I already recorded 7 episodes. So it's an average of one episode per week, and that's the idea, at least for the first 6 months. I'm very interested in storytellers and people who have a fascinating life path and are good at telling that to others. And I want to cover, as I said, like different topics. So I don't want to focus just on arts or just on business or sports. I want to include everyone that has something to tell and are able to express it in a way that is of interest of the audience. So ideally, I would like storytellers with a fascinating bio.
Okay. Can I put something to you then, Peter? At the moment, we're doing it, if you like, in the studio version. And what I've seen so far is you've pretty much been doing the same thing. Do you see yourself going out and maybe doing vox pops and even showing a bit of Ireland to your people back home?
Yeah, that's something I have in mind once I'm more familiar with with the video, with the production and all that. I think I'm still a beginner. Well, and I already showed you that, by the way. I struggle to connect to this call. But other than that, yeah, that's not something I would like to do. I don't consider myself a YouTuber, and I don't think I will ever be one, though you never know. Like I surprise myself throughout the years with exploring new avenues that I never thought they would be part of my path. Like I'm an author, and I'm expanding my work with a podcast. I wouldn't be a podcaster who writes books. I'm an author who has a podcast, if that makes sense. And one thing I would like to tell is to the people out there is, why do I like to live in Ireland? What is it about? Because I consider myself in the top 10 expats who like to live the Ireland the most. I'm for sure top 10. I mean, I probably even top 3 or top 5, but I don't want to be too arrogant here. But top 10 for sure, for sure. There are a lot of good things about Ireland. There are also bad. But the thing is, if you ask me, what is that you don't like about Ireland? So all the things I don't like about Ireland, which are just like one or two, they don't really bother me if I think on the wide range of things, in the whole scenario.
Yeah. I'm fortunate in the sense that I've heard you speak and I've heard you, if you like, articulate your topics, particularly the art of Harry Kernoff, quite well known in Ireland, but could be known better. What would you like to say to people when you start promoting yourself as to what gain, if you like, or what attraction would they find by coming to look at the Vitor Vincente podcasts?
Well, I think they can encounter an individual who is very open, believes in free speech as a key factor when it comes to effective communication, and someone who is genuinely interested in others and in sharing his opinions and views, just for the sake of having a good chat. And I believe that the environments I create when I talk to the guests, they are witty and they are bold. So combining all the elements, I think it can be quite attractive for a certain audience.
Yeah. Two things before we finish, Vitor, I'm going to ask you. First of all, can people contact you and say, I've got something to say and I'd perhaps like to say it on your show? Is that something you're, shall we say, amenable to?
Yeah, 100%. Actually, I just got a message today from a fellow based in Poland, and he sent me a DM on Instagram telling his story. And I had a look, I review his social media, and he is a great fit. So he's already on my schedule. So it's possible.
And the second one, and this is probably the most important in the short term, where can people find your podcast?
Mainly in YouTube. And when I say mainly, is that because all the content is there. Okay, so if you want to see it all, it's in YouTube. But there are clips.
Sure. What's your YouTube channel called?
It's very simple. My name is the Vitor Vincente podcast. So if people are able to spell my name, they will be able to find my podcast. Maybe the challenge is for some Irish people is to spell my name. But if they copy from this episode with you, they will be able to find just the Vitor Vincente podcast, and they will find for sure.
Okay. Well, look, when this podcast goes out, which will be going out on YouTube, I will say, but I'll also be relaying it, of course, to Instagram and Twitter as well. I'll put the link in so that people will then be able to at least go to the podcast, and then if you wish, I can put an email address with them as well. So how does that sound?
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, people can contact me by email. They can send me a note on social media, whatever suits best the people out there. So yeah, either way. Yeah.
Okay, Vitor Vincente, lovely to have you. Welcome to the big wide world of, if you like, social journalism. And we wish you all the very best. And long may you continue to do this.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me on. A great success for your podcast.